Hello. It's been a while, hasn't it? Hasn't it been a while? Well, I always say that, but it's always true because I don't have a schedule for this. I don't make any money at this. YouTube once had ads on my videos and they gave me 11 cents. But they didn't actually pay the 11 cents because that was below the cutoff. Today we are eating DQ, and I get to talk about the AI ordering experience. Pretty exciting thing, right? I mean, not really. Actually, so the last time I came to this Dairy Queen, they had the AI ordering thing, but it didn't seem to work properly, and like the human had to step in and take my order. But this time it seemed a little bit more impressive. Well, not, I mean, I guess, how impressive is it to take somebody's order, right? Like, voice recognition technology has existed for, decades at this point. But anyways, so, I placed the order. The machine was like, hey, what do you want? Basically, what can I make fresh for you? Well, no, they don't say what can I make fresh for you. That's a different restaurant. They said, what can I get started for you today? Whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, I want the chicken nuggets basket. And they're like, okay, well, do you want the original one or do you want the spicy one? I'm just can I scooch a little bit forward here? They said, did you want the original one or the spicy one? And I was like, well, I want the original one. I don't want the spicy one. And then they said, do you want a drink? And I said, no, I don't want a drink. And then they said, all right, anything else? And I said, yeah, I want a small blizzard, a small chocolate chip cookie dough blizzard. And they said, yeah, all right. And then paused for like a couple seconds, long enough that I was like, that's it. And then it started talking while I was talking. It said, anything else? And I ended up saying, no, yep, that's all correct. They repeated the order back so that I knew it was correct. And I pulled forward. Yeah. Sounds like an unequivocal success for the system, right? Huzzah, the AI works. It was totally worth spending all this money to have an outside company come in and harvest data from all of the people who order food here, right? It was totally worth that for us to pay them to come and do that, right? Well, then I pulled forward to the window, where you go to pay. I had a special coupon, $3 off the chicken piece basket. So I made to hand this to the guy, and he said, he handed me the blizzard, and he said, the guy in front of you paid for your order. What? I said, what? He said, yeah. And I was like, I have a coupon. And then he handed me the chicken basket, and he said, all right. He was like, he was amused by it too. He was like, yeah, the guy ahead of you, he just paid for it. And like, I really want to blame that on the AI, right? Like, I want it to be the AI's fault. I want it to have like surfaced the orders in the wrong order and put my order ahead of the other guy's order or something like that. I don't actually know if that's what happened. But like I said, I'd really like it to be the case that it got the whole order correct, but that it made somebody else pay for it. Yeah, it would just be funny if it seemed to have worked and then didn't. It's comedy, right? Yeah, that's comedy. That's comedic. But yeah, I mean, it seems to be the right order, at least. This is chocolate chip cookie dough. haven't had this flavor in a while. I suppose we should check the chicken as well. Yep, that's honey mustard sauce. You're not going to mistake that for anything else. Oh, I'm supposed to make it a turkey. Can you see that? it's the honey mustard sauce. Let's see, it also comes with the toast. Gotta love the toast. And fries. I mean, you know what fries look like. And then the chicken strips, which there are 6 chicken strips. So yeah, so it got my order completely right. It just did not get the payment part right. I mean, it announced the price when I was at the end of the order. It was like, yeah, it's gonna be $15 or whatever it was. But there you go. I mean, that's AI for you. Even when it works, it doesn't work. Yep, I mean, that's chicken. That's chicken and honey mustard. I probably wouldn't have even ordered this if it hadn't been for the coupon. I didn't even need the coupon. Are you gonna try and pull in there? Oh my God. I don't think you're gonna fit, Mr. Truck. I think you're gonna have to scoot. I mean, there's not enough space for me to get back, is there? Is that what you're trying to get me to do? Because I'm not gonna do that. Okay, all right. Where was I? You know, I keep meaning to make like a YouTube video. I watched a movie the other day, and I kind of had the idea in mind that I might make a vlog about it. But now, the mark of a great movie, I don't know if I remember enough about it to actually make the vlog. Let's see. Okay, so you know Lord of the Rings? I didn't watch Lord of the Rings. But you know the character Samwise Gamgee? He's a hobbit in Lord of the Rings. Well, you know the actor who plays Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings? He's called, what is he called? Oh my God, I don't know if I even remember the guy's name. Sean Astin, that's his name. So Sean Astin produced this movie. It's called A Matter of Time. Sean Astin did not produce or write this movie. He was just in it as an actor. The whole reason I saw it was because of the sci-fi premise, because I love sci-fi movies. And this one is about a guy who gets a magic ring. Sorry, a sci-fi ring. With a special power. A special power that must not be overused, or there will be hellish consequences. And it's a ring that can stop time when you put it on. But you can still, like, get tired. Like, it doesn't give you more energy. It doesn't stop your sleep cycle. So if you use this ring, you still have to, like, go to bed. If you do, like, and they say you're not supposed to do more than 24 hours of work before you take the ring back off, because then you might lose time. Like, you might disappear, and then reappear, hours later in the same spot. And Sean Astin is also in the movie. He plays like the tabletop RPG dungeon master who owns this ring, and then the main character is like this younger guy who has to, like, convince him to let him use the ring. It's a movie about game development, which is kind of interesting. You don't see that every day. But it ultimately becomes a pretty standard story of, like, oh, I've got to, like, build up my business. I've got to bootstraps my business up. I got to pull myself up by my bootstraps. There's no bootstrap paradox. Because it's not actual time travel. He just stops time. So it's like sorry, let's put the thoughts up front. It's like a 5 out of 10 movie. It's like a fine enough movie with a kind of fun premise to it. And that's pretty much all there is to it. There's not a lot of depth. Well, okay, so the concept of this ring that lets you do a bunch more work on video games does sort of make you think about crunch, which is the phenomenon of video game developers, like the rank and file, like the regular developers, just the people on the ground floor, being pushed to, like, exclude all else from their life except the game they're working on, and to work, like, crazy overtime hours, which CDPR is happy to tell us they pay for the overtime, but they're still working the overtime. Now, they're not denying that. That's an old example at this point. I mean, I think Cyberpunk has been out for years, but we shouldn't let them get away with it. We shouldn't forget. But yeah, so the main character, he's working multiple jobs, he's running food deliveries, he's delivering a lot of stuff face to face, which I don't have as much experience with. A lot of the time, like, the person I was delivering for just wasn't there, so I just, like, put all this stuff on their step, take a picture, and bounce. Whereas this guy has to, like, deal with handing over the food, and then they slam the door in his face over and over again. And then his second job is like game development, sort of. But he's working on somebody else's game. He's like helping with mocap on somebody else's game. And his creative input is not taken seriously by the boss. And then, you know, when he comes home, he's got to deal with his mentally unwell father, who's a novelist, and he's trying to finish his novel. We'll come back to that later. Will we ever? Okay. Anyways, so that's how the movie starts. Well, actually, it starts before I walked into the theater. I'm pretty sure I missed something, but like there were opening credits when I was walking in, and basically like it shows the guy and his friends as kids like developing the game, and he's got like a sick mom, and the mom dies. She gets like cancer or whatever, and she dies. Which, you know, it's not like it happens to people. It does happen to people. It's not like unrealistic. However, it is like, it has been done. A lot of movies have been made where the mom is out of the picture. So it's a little bit cliche, but anyways, you know, the friend group is like your standard group of nerds. You've got main character guy nerd. You've got theater geek nerd. You've got a guy who doesn't say anything nerd. I'm pretty sure they call him like the silent bomb of their team, which is like, yeah, okay, you're winking at me, but like, you are just like stealing this stock character from a bajillion other things that have like a guy who doesn't say anything. And then of course, girl nerd. Because, you know, what movie would be complete? What movie about video game development could possibly exist without the girl nerd? And I wonder what's gonna happen with her character at the end. Can you guess without me telling you? Then it's a pretty stock character. Anyways. Alright. Okay, I need to eat some more of these chicken nuggets before they get cold. We're almost out of sauce on the first thing. I'm thinking about what I'm gonna say next, so this is going somewhere. So, main character guy goes down to the bar with his friends. They have some drinks. And his buddy theater nerd is like, hey, why don't you, I got some new ideas for this game that we made, you know, back in the day. We started building it back in the day. and we've been working on it like this whole time. I've got some ideas about this game that we've been, making for 10 years, which is not something that doesn't happen, but it's a little uncommon, I would say, for a game to be developing that long. It's just a little bit longer than usual. I mean, like, there's examples. Your Duke Nukem Forevers that have just been developed for a really, really long time and never actually finished. But yeah. So Theater Geek Friend is like, doing a posh accent. He's doing a British accent. And he's asking for help with developing the game. And the main character, Nerd, is like, no thanks. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. And then Girl Nerd is like, yeah, I have like a crummy job. I hate my job. I'm like a PA. I'm like a personal assistant for the CEO of this mobile game company. This mobile game company. They make mobile games. They make like a very slightly obfuscated clone of Candy Crush. It's called like Crush Candy or like Candy Jam or something. It's like they're barely hiding what they're doing with it. Anyways, she's like, I hate my job. But the boss said, the people funding his studio are pushing him to release an M-rated shooter game, which is like, okay, that's not like how game developers work. Like, the same parent company did publish Candy Crush and like Call of Duty, but they have separate studios that develop those two games. Like the King studio that develops Candy Crush did not develop Call of Duty, and it's a little weird for the corporate people to be like, yes, go do something completely different from the thing that made you all this money. Like they show off, he's like, we're adding a new expansion to our Candy Crush game. We're adding cookies, whatever they're gonna do. We're gonna add chocolate. And the executives are like, no, don't build like an expansion on your existing IP. Don't sell like DLC or anything like that. No, we need you to make a completely different genre of game than you normally make. And that is something, now in fairness, that is also not something that doesn't happen. Video game studios do sometimes publish games that are wildly different from from what they end up making. Like, the legend states that Bungie, developer of Destiny and Halo and Marathon, they developed Marathon twice, originally built like a Pong clone or something, and that was their first game. And like, what is the lineage from that to making shooters? Nothing. But like, it probably didn't happen that way because like some money person was like, yeah, we really want you to make shooters instead of Pong 5. They independently developed Halo, which is their shooter game, as like a demo for the Mac and PC at the time. Not only was it announced for Mac at the time, but it was announced at Macworld Expo by Steve Jobs. And then afterwards, after they had already had the idea and started working on it, they got picked up by Microsoft, and then it became an Xbox exclusive. But like, it's just a really weird thing for like your conservative business people to be pushing for. But anyways, so PopCap clone, King, Opposite World King, Queen, the video games developer, needs a shooter game, and the one they have is like full of bugs and it's not ready. And they have a ridiculous timeline. They need a playable demo in 3 months. Which I don't know enough about video game development to say whether 3 months is enough time to develop that. It's probably pretty fast to develop something like that. A 3D shooter with like enough of a vertical slice for you to actually play the game. probably you couldn't normally do that in 3 months. So so they're like, well, you know, maybe we could pitch a game, maybe we could pitch our game to the CEO of Queen Video Game Development. Maybe that would work. And for reasons that I don't quite understand, maybe selfishness, main character nerd is like, no, we're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be a part of that. But he does, later on, go, like, nostalgically digging through all the old journals and design docs and stuff, and he finds a video game concept that he worked on with Girl Nerd back in the day, and then he comes up with by the way, parallel to all this, Sean Astin man says, oh, by the way, like, we have this, I have this ring, it's been in my family for generations. It was made by a guy who worked on the Manhattan Project. He says, I've seen it destroy a lot of lives, or something like that. Which is great. It really bodes well. But yeah, it stops time. And he says, you know how long it takes me to set up one of my tabletop campaigns, right? Yeah, you know, a couple hours. And then he puts the ring on and he does it super fast. And he hands him like one piece of it. The guy's like, whoa, you can do all that? He says, yeah. But with great power, and this was like one of the funniest things in the movie. He says, with great power, and then the guy says, comes great responsibility. And he says, no! With great power comes rules, and then he explains the rules. So, you know, don't do it longer than 24 hours. Make sure that you make sure that you still sleep after you use the thing. Make sure you recharge yourself and all that. So that all happens, like, I don't know, at the beginning of the movie or something. He owns a game store. And he's doing this campaign, like, in the back room, basically. Every game store has a back room. You know this. That's where they hold all the events. That's where they... That's where they try to summon aliens. No, I'm just kidding. But that's where they hold the events, you know, it's in the back room. They got tables and chairs back there. We've all seen it. But anyways, the guy knows that there's this power ring. So he gets Girl Nerd to, like, recommend him to the boss of the video game company, and he gives a pitch. It, like, almost goes over well, but, like, then the guy's, like, walking away, and he's like, it's like golf, because the CEO is a golfer, of course. He says it's like golf, it's like the PGA. And he's like, I love it, let's do it. My absurd timeline for this is now your absurd timeline for this. Go make your demo for us. And so then he steals the ring and he develops the demo, but when he finishes the demo, they just want, you know, I think it was a couple weeks, actually. There's multiple deadlines in this movie. Okay, so actually, I think so he finishes the demo in like a couple of weeks or whatever, which is probably not enough time to make that either. Probably, in fact, less time than you would, than before. And then, you know, the executives like the demo, but they want they want a playable game within like 3 months or whatever. And the guy's like, oh my God, I can't do it. There's no way. And then then he tries anyway. He's like, well, I know I probably can't do it, but I gotta try. And so he overuses the ring. We've all seen this kind of story before, right? You overuse the powers, and then you get hit by the side effect. He initially sees the side effect, and he loses, I don't know, a couple hours or something. The Uber car, the car that he was sitting in, disappears because it left while he was gone in the void or whatever. And so then he comes back, and there's no car there, so it's kind of funny. He just falls onto the street. But then, yeah, he pushes himself too hard. He pushes the ring too far. He sleep deprives himself a little too much, and then he falls asleep wearing the ring right on the cusp of the deadline, of course. And he falls asleep, and he wears the ring past the 24-hour period, and then he loses weeks of time. And you see the collage of text messages from Girl Nerd and everybody else trying to reach him. Text messages saying your father isn't well, he's refusing to take his medicine, he's not opening the door for us, he's locked us out of the house. Oh my gosh, this is really serious. And that's the last mention. That's the last mention. I was gonna do a bit, but I'm just gonna say now. That was the last mention of the guy's dad in the movie. Nearest I can remember. They don't even show him sharing in the success at the end or something. Well, that could be wrong. Maybe they do, and I just didn't remember it. But it really feels like they didn't. So oh, he wasn't well, he wasn't taking his medicine. Never mentioned again. Maybe he died. Maybe there's a scene missing. You've got to have consequences for your actions, right? The consequences are, okay, wait. So let me back up a little bit. So he steals his, he's stuck on a coding problem. He's like, my net code isn't working. But he still has access to a shared server that the other friends are working on their other game on. And he's like, oh, my friend would just fix this instantly. And the shop owner, Sean Astin guy, is like, yeah, you gotta ask him for help. And he's like, yeah, I gotta get his help. He steals the code. And so then they notice him stealing the code. And then friends are like, God, you shouldn't have done that. We're not talking to you. You stole our code. I can't believe you would do this to me. So then, the consequence is when he comes back from his time skip, from missing his time, weeks later, he's still locked out of the code base. But he just has read-only access, so he can still read, he can still see what they're making. And so the way that he comes back is he's like, I'm sorry, I did a bad thing, I'm sorry, I apologize. I shouldn't have stolen your guys' code. But that game you're working on, it seems really great. And he meets up with Girl Nerd afterwards, and he's like, yeah, I'm back. And she's like, where were you? And I don't remember if he just straight up says, yeah, I got a time traveling ring. I think he does. I think he says, yeah, this is gonna sound crazy, but I got a time traveling ring. And she's like, ah. And then she walks away. She just runs off. But anyways, yeah, so she's like, yeah, it's over. There's no way you're gonna get anything back from my boss. In fact, I've almost been demoted because of this whole thing, and they don't trust me. There's no way I'm gonna, help you make this pitch. And then, so then he goes and he apologizes, and he apologizes to Theater Nerd. He says, I'm sorry and all that. And Theater Nerd is like, okay, you can work with us on our game. Well, actually, so the idea is, like, that they combine their projects together, which is not probably a thing that never happens, but, like, you could argue that because these people were already working together on a game, that probably most of the stuff that they're using would transfer, because probably they're familiar with the same engine, and they probably write code in the same language, and they probably call their objects the same way, and all this stuff, right? Probably it would work, but, like, I'm not entirely sure, because, like, also, what exactly are you gaining by adding all this extra stuff? Like, the shooter game that we're working on already has levels, and it has, like, netcode, and it has, like, some ideas. It's pretty somewhat fleshed out. You're like, working on it for years, right? But I guess probably, I don't know, you could import, like, the ideas for the enemies, you could import the models and the textures and things. There's a scene where he gets, like, a big advance check from the video game publisher, and he uses it to, like, buy pre-made assets to put in his game, because that would speed you up a bit instead of having to make everything yourself. But yeah, so, that's just another shortcut that he's taking. And then somehow he, like, apologizes to Girl Nerd again, like a second time he, like, talks to her. And she's like, okay, maybe I could pull some strings and get you in front of the boss man one more time. The boss is supposed to, like, make him sign a contract so that he can't publish his game anywhere else, but he, like, doesn't do it. But he shows a new demo of this combined game to the boss of the video game company, and the guy loves it. He can't put it down. He can't stop playing. The maintenance man walks in on him, still playing it late into the night. Oh, it's such a good game. It's amazing. 10 out of 10. Johnson, we can really use some of that can-do attitude at this company. And then, and so the guy's like, okay, we'll buy your game. Here's the contract. Sign the contract. And, the guy looks at the contract, and he says, no deal. Not happening. Can't do it. I just can't sign my life away with this game, whatever it is. And the guy's like, oh my god, I can't believe you would do this. Do you know how much money you're turning down, Jonathan? He, like, gets his name wrong. He calls him, like, Chuck E. Cheese or something. It's really dumb. But anyways, yeah. He turns it down. They go independent and they sell they move into the game shop. They move into the, like, back of the game shop to do all their development, which is real nice of Mr. Sean Astin character. Oh, by the way, he got permission from Sean Astin character to use the ring previously, and that was when he told him the rules, and then he gave the ring back after his fall from grace, because he was like, I can't lose any more time. So then, oh, they're indie developers. They're all just, like, 4 people on their computers in a little room, and they publish their game to Steam, and it does amazing numbers. Capitalism wins again. The little guy can compete. What a great lesson. And then the movie's over, and they don't mention his dad at the end. Like, you know, it's like, you know, that's probably not the tone they were going for, right? They weren't trying to make some kind of dark masterpiece about, like, the depravity of man, where, like, the guy's elderly father dies. But, like, you should worry about him a little bit, and a little bit more, and they should show that he's okay. Maybe he busts into the apartment and, like, the dad is, you know, is not there, or maybe he, maybe he's been sent to the hospital and he's, like, in his hospital bed. And, you know, maybe he can get better after that, but, like, you should show the consequences of his actions. It feels like a huge part of the movie. It feels like a big part of the movie at the beginning and the middle. Like, they show him coming back home while he's using this ring all the time, and, like, still trying to, like, kind of take care of his dad a little bit here and there. And he has, like, he has, like, hired someone to take care of the dad full time, but the dad doesn't trust her, which I feel like you should fix that. Like, I don't know. I mean, you know, people with memory issues, right? How do you deal with that? I don't know. I have no idea. But like, there should be something. I suppose, you know, at the beginning of the movie, he's not exactly like a rich guy. Like, he's working these multiple jobs, just trying to even make ends meet over here. But, like, it just gets dropped, and it's, like, so weird that it gets dropped. Like, even moments before it gets dropped, when you're talking about, like, when you're getting all these panicked messages while he's away for 3 weeks, like, they're talking about the dad and how this is gonna affect him, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe you should show how it affected him. It's just like a total whiff. I don't know. And I could have completely missed it, but I don't think I did. It was something that stuck with me. Other things, though, like the ring kind of gets dropped after he has fall from grace or whatever. I'm not even sure if you really see it at the end or anything. Like, maybe it's just kind of gone, but, like, sure, it served its purpose or whatever. But I don't know. Pull like a Freaky Friday. Have some other kid bust into the shop and say, I really need this. I really need more time. I wish I had more time. I gotta train to become an Olympic athlete, and I just need more time. I need more training time. And then, you know, show like an ominous shot of the ring in, like, ooh, the cycle starts again. I don't know, come up with something, right? It just seems a bit odd. My ice cream is melting. But anyways, that's what I thought of A Matter of Time. Oh, I guess I should mention, like, they have transitions in the movie, like, where the guy gets in the car to drive somewhere, for example. And, like, it turns into video game world, and they have him, like, they show the car, like, driving around town or whatever. And I thought it was kind of cute. I don't know. It's kind of a cute idea. And then, like, this movie was not directed by Sean Astin, and I don't think it was fully written by him either. Might have to double check that later. But it has, like, just the vaguest tinges of something that I've heard before. In the 2000s, when Lord of the Rings was getting huge, there was a group of young teens and an and a middle-aged doctor who got together and founded a community called A Bit of Earth, which was like a Lord of the Rings based, initially a fan fiction forum, like a Yahoo group where they would share all their ideas and talk about characters and stuff. And then, parlayed into, and initially when they created it, of course, they immediately reached out to Sean Astin's official website to say, hey, we've made this community to talk about our gay fanfics about the Hobbits. So they notified him immediately. Can't forget that. And then they, like, staged an increasingly bizarre series of charity events that all just kind of didn't go so well. And a lot of other things happened. A lot of other things happened. And, there have been videos about this that I've seen. And so you almost would start to wonder if some part of the reason Sean Astin either was drawn to this project or the influence that he had as, like, a co-writer on it was in some way linked to this idea of all these, like, young kids just starting up their lives and trying to get something off the ground, and failing initially. Failing. It really did not go very well. But anyways, story's been told already. It's an old story. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, who am I to speculate on some celebrities' like personal feelings about events that have happened in their life? But anyways, but yeah, that was that movie, I guess. Should I finish my meal here? I've still got some stuff. I've got my toast here. Let's do the toast. A toast. That is like caked in butter. I guess I'll have a fry. And I guess that'll probably be it, huh? Maybe I am gonna do that.